Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a full post-Christmas pantry reset. If your pantry looks a little holiday lived in, you're not alone. After Christmas, our pantry was an absolute disaster and we really needed to get it cleaned up before the new year started and everybody went back to work and back to school. So we're going to get everything emptied out of this pantry. We're going to deep clean the shelves, clean the floors up, get rid of the stuff that doesn't belong in here, get rid of the extra packaging, garbage, all that sort of stuff. And then we're going to put everything back in a way that makes sense for our day-to-day lives when we're not eating like total trash. So grab a coffee and let's reset the space together. So first things first, everything has to come out of the pantry. We like to fully empty the pantry so we can see exactly what we have, what's expired, what got shoved to the back of the shelves during the holiday season, what we want to throw out, what we want to donate, what needs to get moved to the front to get used up because it's getting older. And we always have random baking ingredients and extra snacks and stuff like that after the holidays. So it's good to pull that all forward, see what we have left, and get things all removed so that we can actually clean the space before putting stuff back. Now that we've got everything out of the pantry, you can see just how dirty everything is. The shelves and the floor are filthy. So we're going to start by sweeping up all of the big stuff off of the floor and then wiping the shelves down before we put anything back into the pantry. And now that we got the shelves wiped down, we're going to go in with our Dyson V12 Detect Slim to get all of the smaller crumbs up off the floor. Love this Dyson because it's got the laser on it and it lets you pick up absolutely everything. And then I'm coming in with my Tinclo iFloor 2, which is a wet, dry vac that's going to mop the floors for us before we get ready to put everything back into the pantry. And I'll have both of these linked for you down below. And we store some extra spices in it as well, like back stock. And I'm just going to go through it quickly here to see if there's anything that we can get rid of. I keep things like birthday candles, piping bags, this crystallized ginger that I should probably use up from Duchess Bakery, Duchess Provisions in Edmonton. We really love that place. Corn syrup that we hardly ever use. I don't bake a ton, so a lot of this stuff just sits here. But again, back stock like our granulated onion, garlic, smoked paprika, taco seasoning. Got a ton of taco seasoning right now. Bought another big container like that. Didn't realize that we already had one. And then I've got my extracts. So I've got a thing of almond extract. I'll put my vanilla in here. Bag of basil. I'll see what I can do with my spice containers. And then some mojito lime seasoning here. My cookie cutters. My tips for my piping bags. And then we also keep our crumble cookie cutter up here. And then a bunch of spices from the last time we were at a Trader Joe's. These aren't Trader Joe's, but allspice cloves, again, hardly ever get used. Should probably honestly replace them, but so yeah, just some back stock Trader Joe's seasoning because you can't get those easily in Canada. I've got a big back stock of my vanilla. So what I'll do is I'll clean this bin out, or empty this bin out, and then give it a wipe down, a vacuum out and a wipe down. And then I'll refill my seasonings with peppermint extract. Here's some more cookie cutters or biscuit cutters. I'll grab my little vacuum and then we'll get a cloth. This is just my little shark stick vac. We keep this in our kitchen. It needs to be cleaned, but we keep this in our kitchen just for small messes and for stuff like this. Them on the front of these bins so that we know what's in each one. Then this is the only real bin that has any kind of a rotating stock of items. The rest of them sort of just stock or store bigger things like big mixing bowls and our big stock pot, Ziploc bags, our sous vide, barbecue stuff. So don't really need to go through those. They probably need to be wiped out, but we don't need to actually sort through them like I'm doing with this one. But that's all wiped out good enough for now, and we'll go ahead and get everything back in it. I'm going to check to see what spices need to be topped up on our regular spice rotation, and then we'll get everything put back in here. So these are all of our spice containers. That's what I did basically. I bought these on Amazon and then just used my Cricut to label each one, and then they sit on a set of risers. I'm just gonna go through here and see what needs to be topped up while we've got the big bins down. So the smoked paprika could use a restock. And the goal here would be to empty out what we can and throw out the containers, but I don't think that's really going to be possible with a lot of these. Our taco seasoning needs to be topped off. And in a perfect world, I would empty these containers out and wash them. I've got a full, complete empty container of chopped onion here. So we'll get our onion flakes in here. Of course, I'm not gonna be able to empty this out either. That's fine. And we'll see, where's the oregano? Here's the oregano. Oh. Top off what we can here. And then so that can go away. Our granulated onion. Garlic powder. The garlic powder can be topped off. I think the last thing to be topped off is our dried onion powder. There we go. And then yeah, we'll wipe down the outsides of these containers as we put them back in. All that's done, we'll go ahead and get everything back in the bin here. I'm gonna put my molasses up here because we don't really use those aside from baking as well. Actually, I should probably check the dates. Best by September 2020. We're usually pretty good with our dates on things, but 2018. Okay, we need new corn syrup, so we're gonna toss those. Okay, now it's time to get everything put back into the pantry. I'm just starting with our canned goods here and getting my oat milk and the coffee and that sort of stuff put back on the shelves. And then we're going to go ahead and get the spices put back in here too. I don't have a set, like they're not organized by color or by alphabetical order or anything like that. I tend to put the stuff that we use the most frequently near the front on the right hand side, and then stuff that we use less frequently towards the back or on the left hand side, because we do have that rolling cart that goes in here with our onions on it right in front, like basically where I'm standing right now. So the easier to access stuff is kept on the right hand side just to make it easier to reach as we pull stuff out. And then we'll just keep going here with putting stuff back onto that shelf. We keep things like our stock and our stuff like that with the spices, and then our open condiments go on the next shelf down with our oils, got oil and vinegar, lemon juice, honey, that sort of stuff. Our dish towels go on that shelf as well. And then up on this shelf here, we keep another turntable with all of our unopened condiments. So things like extra peanut butter, sauces, mustards, unopened lemon juice, that sort of stuff. And then this area here is where we keep all of our cat stuff. So their wet food, their treats, their catnip, and then I've just put our coffee syrups here as well. And then now we're moving on to where we keep all of our pop containers. So this is all of our dried goods. I keep most of our baking stuff, or try to keep most of our baking stuff, on the bottom shelf. So things like Splenda, flour, sugar, that kind of thing. Oats, you can see here on this shelf. And then up above, we keep stuff like our dry goods, like pasta, rice, barley, all of that sort of stuff. And then on the bottom shelf here, we keep our supplements, our protein bars, our powders, all that sort of stuff, and our tea. The kids drink a lot of tea. I don't tend to drink a lot of it, but they do use it quite a bit. Then we also keep our protein powders here. I'm just putting the vanilla one in, and then I'm going to refill our chocolate protein powder as well. And then we've got a container of PB2 that goes here too. So my son and I make a lot of smoothies and stuff like that, so this gets used quite a bit. And then we also keep our pizza oven on the shelf here because it's too big to fit in our cupboard. So this just lives on this shelf as well. And then finally here, we're just going to start bringing things back in that live on the floor. We've got a container here with all of the kids' lunch supplies, their lunch boxes, water bottles, that sort of stuff. And then their school snacks go in the bin beside it. And then in this bin here, we keep chips and other snacks and stuff like that. Just putting a few more spices on the shelf here with the spice rack. And then we will bring in things like our giant Le Creuset pot. And then we also keep our back stock of like flour and paper towel and stuff like that right here. And as you can see here, my husband was also helping me out today. So if you see any jumps in the video, that's why he didn't really want to be on camera too much, but I couldn't really avoid putting him in here. So everybody say hi to him in the comments. And then we're just going to finish off here by getting that rolling IKEA cart back in where it belongs. Okay, so here's our after. On the top shelf here, we keep all of our unopened condiments and stuff like that on a turntable just so that I have easy access to it. And then we've got our coffee syrups, just some shelf-stable sausages that need to get used up that are just sitting here for now. And then all of our cat stuff, their wet cat food, their catnip treats, stuff like that. And then down on this shelf, we have all of our canned goods. And then we're closing in on grocery days, so I'm getting low on things like oat milk. Oat milk usually goes in that bin there. And then we keep our coffee in these 2 OXO containers. And then all of my water enhancer Kool-Aid drink mixes go in this container here. And then on the next shelf down is all of our spices. We've got our main spice rack here, and then just some extra spices, some red curry paste, some smoked sea salt, and then my dried basil and chives from the garden spice packets, and then our boxed chicken broth and powdered chicken broth are just in that bin back there. And then down here, we keep our dish towels and our dishcloths in that home edit, those 2 home edit bins there. And then this turntable here is all of our open condiments, so vinegars, lemon juice, oil, got some supplements here, honey, peanut butter, that kind of thing, lemon juice, lime juice. And then over here, tucked out of the way, we keep our bigger containers of vinegar and olive oil, and then there's almond milk in the back, and then the big back stock bags are down here. So we've got flour and rice and oats and baking powder, or baking soda, and then we keep our paper towel down here. And then over here, we've got snacky stuff like crackers, and then there's a nearly empty thing of pancake mix, brownie mix, extra coffee, stuff like that, cereal. And then on this shelf here is mostly our dry goods, so pasta, rice, split peas, hemp hearts, that sort of stuff. And then all the baking stuff is on the next shelf here, so sugar, flour, Splenda, baking powder, baking soda, salt, all that kind of stuff. And then down here, we keep our pizza oven because it's too big for our cabinets. And then over here, we keep in the bin on the far right, we keep things like supplements, protein bars. We have our tea, then we have our 2 pop containers for protein powder. I gotta restock the chocolate. So there's chocolate and vanilla, and then we've got our PB2 powdered peanut butter, and then the kids' hot chocolate. And then down here is their school supplies, water bottles, shaker bottles, the containers for our Ninja Creamy, and then the kids' school snacks are in that bin, and then in this bin we usually keep things like small bags of chips, but right now this is just leftovers from Christmas and a couple of bags of chips in here. And then over here we keep a Simple Human dual garbage can, and in one side is all of our pop bottles and cans, and then just our regular recycling here. And then finally this cart sits in the corner here. We keep our bread on the bottom, potatoes here, onions on the top, and our pantry is on an automatic timer sensor, so the light will go off after a couple of minutes. The sensor's here, so that's really handy. We don't have to worry about turning the light on and off. And then, as I'm sure you saw, we've got a walk through to our mudroom. That door is usually closed. We don't really use it a whole lot, but it's handy if we're bringing bigger things in. And then just right here we hang our apron, and we have a couple of pizza peels for the pizza oven and for the trigger outside. And then finally, up top, we've got all of our labeled bins. Baking, we went through that earlier. I keep all my baking supplies. Food storage is just like Ziploc bags, sous vide, or like the vacuum sealer bags, that sort of stuff. And we've got the sous vide bin, which has the tub for the sous vide and the sous vide itself, and then big mixing bowls, our stock pot, giant stock pot, and then plastic cutlery, like paper plates, plastic cups, plastic cutlery, that sort of stuff. So that's basically it. It looks a lot better now than it did when we started. All the Christmas is cleared out of here now, and we're ready to do our first grocery shop of 2026 this weekend, and it'll get filled back up. But this is basically the system that we follow for, I think we've followed this system for 2 or 3 years now, so everything kind of still goes in the same place, and it works quite well for us. I'm really happy with how this turned out, and it'll stay. We do put stuff back where it belongs. It does get messy after, you know, a week or so, and we have to go in and tidy things up, but we usually only do a really big tidy like this once or twice a year, usually definitely after Christmas, once we get all the Christmas food out of here and get ready for the new year. But yeah, it's looking good. And then after we finished the pantry, we decided to go ahead and clean the fridge out as well. The bins in the door were getting really gross, and we had a lot of older condiments in here that needed to be thrown out and cleaned up. So we decided to go ahead and get started on that as well. We didn't get around to the freezer today. That badly needs a cleaning as well, so we'll have to see how sticky and gross things are in here. We'll have to get to the freezer here soon, but yeah, we decided we might as well keep going and clean out the fridge here as well. So now that everything's out of the door here, you can see just how disgusting it was. It was in bad need of a cleaning, so we took everything, all of these shelves out and washed them in the sink before putting them back in and reloading everything. Once we had all the shelves back in here, I started to put what we were going to keep back in with our beverages on the bottom here, and then I tried to organize our condiments sort of in the order in which we use them, or the style of cooking in which we use them. So with our more Asian sauces on the right hand side, and then things like barbecue sauces, sandwich spreads, that sort of stuff on the left hand side. And now we're going to move into the main part of the fridge here, and we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to take everything out. We're going to go through everything, get rid of any old or expired food, and then we're going to take all of the shelves out, the drawers, everything. My husband's going to give those a wipe down in the sink for me while I wipe out the body of the fridge, and then we'll get everything put back. And you can see here just how absolutely disgusting the inside of the fridge was as well. So it really, really needed a good cleaning. Then now that we have all of the shelves put back in here, we're gonna go ahead and start loading the food back up. Our deli drawer on the bottom there, we keep our butter and our cheeses and our deli meats and that sort of thing. And then we were really low on vegetables right now. I think the only thing we have in the fridge at the moment is carrots. We're gonna go shopping tomorrow. And then we keep these two turntables in the middle here so that we can access all of our condiments and stuff like that a little bit more easily, and stuff doesn't tend to get lost at the back. We couldn't remember where the shelves went, so we had to readjust those. Keep our eggs in a bin at the top, and then we usually keep things like yogurt and cottage cheese on the top right hand side, but the top left hand side, but we're out of that sort of stuff right now. So just our leftover Christmas jams and charcuterie stuff is going to go up there for now until we can go grocery shopping. And then on the bottom shelf here, we usually keep things like leftovers and extra vegetables. But right now, we don't have any leftovers or extra vegetables, so our some oil and some sour cream, better than bouillon and stuff like that, is going to go there until we can go grocery shopping. And here's the finished product. We've got our eggs and our cream cheese and some condiments on the top here, all of our main condiments in the center, and then all of our leftovers and stuff like that on the bottom. And again, like I said, we need to go grocery shopping, so we're very low on vegetables. Lots of cheese left though, lots of cheese. Always got to have a lot of cheese in the house. And then on the door here, we've got all of our condiments cleaned up. All of the stuff that we use regularly is here now. All the old stuff is gone, and it feels nice and fresh and clean, and we are all ready for more groceries. So yeah, the fridge feels fantastic. I'm really glad that we got it all cleaned up, and we are all ready to start the new year.